David VanderZwaag. I teach law of the sea, international environmental law at Dalhousie University at the Marine Environmental Law Institute, Canada Research Chair in Ocean Law and Governance. My research really covers the whole gamut of ocean governance challenges and issues that are facing Canada and the globe. I deal with Arctic governance issues, disputes in the Arctic over the Beaufort Sea, for example, between the U.S. and Canada ocean boundary, the status of the Northwest Passage, the need to strengthen control of international regulation of toxic chemicals, the whole question of strengthening shipping regulation in the future of the Arctic. I've done a lot on regional fisheries management cooperation as well, and the protection of marine species at risk in Canada and around the globe. And I've also been looking at the protection of marine biodiversity and how we move forward with marine protected areas in Canada and stronger integrated planning across Canada's coast, around Canada's coast in the future.
And one of the topics that you brought up this morning at the Canada Press Breakfast here at AAAS was the issue of how science can inform governance and the scientific needs for governance. I'm wondering if you can kind of elaborate on how you see that interaction working between science and policy, and maybe how well we do that, or what we can do to do it better.
Well, I think we can see some great successes in the Arctic, for example. We've had a recent report from scientists on the Mercury Assessment under the Arctic Council, and they indicate that 100 tons, for example, of mercury are coming in from outside the region every year through the atmosphere, another 100 tons by the ocean currents, for example, 65% coming from Asia. Again, that's all documented by scientists, and now we're seeing that negotiations ongoing within the UN system for a new global instrument on mercury control, hopefully to be concluded by 2013. So you see scientists directly impacting the international policy making. Another example would be persistent organic pollutants. We have all these pesticides come into the Arctic from outside the Arctic, and again, scientists are very key on documenting those impacts and threats to the Arctic, and then negotiations followed for a 2001 Stockholm Convention. And we'll see additional chemicals being added because of the additional science. I'd say where we probably have a need for a greater link is linking climate-related science, what's happening to sea ice, the acidity of the oceans, the major impacts that greenhouse gas emissions are having on our oceans, and then linking that to mitigation policies of governments, not only nationally but globally. We really have not gone very far in mitigating greenhouse gas effects in light of what the threats are to the oceans.
So if you could articulate maybe the priorities for your work for the next coming 12 months, 18 months, what are your on your short-term horizon?
One major task, I guess, would be to take a real close look at how endangered species, threatened species at risk in Canada are being governed, you might say. And there are a lot of case studies we're undertaking right now around Canada's coast. There'll be a case study on the killer whale, for example, off the Pacific coast, which is very endangered. And again, we're having difficulties in its protection of its habitat, for example. We're undertaking case studies in the Atlantic coast, on the American eel, on the alewife, on salmon, on Greenland sharks, a number of other species, again, that we have to look at how effectively we're governing these particular species. And we're hoping to put out a special issue of the Journal of International Wildlife Law and Policy, involving scientific authors, but also law and policy, social science authors as well, with a special edition hopefully by 2013.
Excellent. Thank you for taking the time.